It was the early hours of Friday, May 7th, 2021. While most Americans slept, a silent war had begun. A cyber attack struck one of the most vital arteries of the U.S. economy, the Colonial Pipeline. Stretching more than 5,500 miles, it carried nearly 45% of the East Coast's fuel supply: gasoline, jet fuel, diesel. And with one digital strike, everything stopped. What began as a few lines of malicious code ignited chaos across 17 states. Gas stations ran dry, panic buying erupted, prices surged, flights were disrupted, truck drivers sat idle, all because of one thing: a single stolen password. What happened next would expose the uncomfortable truth about America's digital backbone: that the systems running our modern world, pipelines, power grids, water plants, hospitals, are very fragile, interconnected, and dangerously underprotected. Welcome to Threat Level Red. I'm your host, Charles Denyer, and tonight, the story of how one overlooked VPN account triggered a national emergency, and what it revealed about the future of cyber warfare, ransom economics, and the thin line between convenience and catastrophe.
Welcome to Threat Level Red, a Charles Denyer Productions podcast. Every week, Charles brings his real-world expertise to the front lines of America's most pressing threats: cyber attacks, extremist networks, rogue states, terrorism, economic instability, systemic breakdowns, and so much more. From the digital battleground to the streets of America, no threat is left uncovered. No spin, no filters, just intel.
The first alarm came at dawn. Colonial Pipeline systems had been breached. Within hours, engineers saw encrypted files spreading like wildfire. Screens froze, servers locked, critical systems inaccessible. To contain the spread, Colonial made a stunning decision. They shut down the pipeline, not part of it, all of it. This wasn't an act of sabotage by a hostile nation. It was a ransomware attack. The culprits, DarkSide, a shadowy group operating from Eastern Europe, believed to have ties to Russian cybercriminal syndicates. DarkSide's business model was disturbingly simple. They sold ransomware as a service, RaaS, to affiliates who then chose their own targets. Profits were split, operations decentralized. It was organized cybercrime, franchised like a fast food chain. So, how did DarkSide infiltrate Colonial? Through a forgotten VPN account. Inactive, unmonitored, and critically without multi-factor authentication. The password had been leaked on the dark web months earlier. That one credential was the skeleton key. They walked right in. Within hours, Colonial's IT network was encrypted, their data held hostage, and a ransomware note appeared demanding millions in Bitcoin. The company had a choice: pay or perish. They paid, roughly $4.4 million in cryptocurrency. Only later would the Department of Justice recover about half of that, a rare partial victory in an otherwise grim digital battlefield. But the cost was not the ransom, it was the chaos that followed. By the next morning, the headlines had hit everywhere. Pipeline shut down, threatens fuel supply. Then came the panic. Motorists flooded gas stations across the South and East Coast. Within 48 hours, over 70% of pumps in some states were completely empty. Videos of people filling plastic bags with gasoline went viral. The White House convened emergency briefings. Governors declared states of emergency. The Department of Energy scrambled to coordinate with Colonial and CISA. So for the first time, we have a cyber attack that triggered an American infrastructure crisis visible to every citizen. And here's where it gets controversial. Many inside the intelligence community believe the attack wasn't just about money. It was a test, a probing strike to see how the United States would react. Was DarkSide simply a criminal enterprise, or were they a proxy, an offshoot acting with quiet approval from hostile state actors watching from afar? To this day, no one can definitively answer that question. And that's what makes this attack so terrifying. It blurred the lines between crime and cyber warfare.
Tonight, many are still left wondering how and why this ransomware attack happened. Colonial Pipeline, paying a ransom to the criminal hackers who shut down their systems last week. Meanwhile, we saw the President of the United States.
Now, let's get brutally honest here. Colonial Pipeline was not breached because of a sophisticated zero-day exploit. It was not the work of an elite nation-state unit leveraging advanced quantum tools. It was an inactive account with a reused password without multi-factor authentication. That's it. No espionage. It was about neglect. And yet the outcome was catastrophic, proving that even billion-dollar companies managing critical national infrastructure are only as secure as their least maintained login. Colonial's not alone. Across the energy sector, thousands of industrial organizations rely on aging systems, decades old, patched together with legacy software and minimal cybersecurity oversight. The truth, the nation's critical infrastructure is held together by hopes and spreadsheets, not resilience, and Colonial was the canary in the coal mine. In the aftermath, multiple investigations revealed an uncomfortable pattern. Colonial had no comprehensive incident response plan, no cyber crisis playbook, and little coordination between IT and OT environments, the very digital and physical layers of the pipeline system. The company's decision to shut down operations wasn't based on evidence of OT compromise, it was fear of the unknown. Imagine that. A company transporting nearly half of the East Coast fuel had to guess whether its operational systems were infected. That moment of uncertainty cost the U.S. economy hundreds of millions of dollars. It also exposed a dirty secret. Most industrial organizations had never tested how ransomware could affect their operations. They had policies, they had audits, but they had zero resilience. Look, the Colonial Pipeline was one hell of a wake-up call. However, not everyone woke up. Here's what every executive and boardroom must internalize. Number one, multi-factor authentication is not optional. If you're listening to this and still don't enforce multi-factor authentication across all systems, you're running blind into an ambush. Number two, inactive accounts are time bombs. Every orphaned credential is a potential attack vector, so disable them, audit them, and then ultimately delete them. Number three, IT and OT must converge in security. Your industrial systems are no longer isolated. Network segmentation and zero trust are no longer luxury terms. They are survival strategies. Number four, ransomware is business, not chaos. These aren't random attacks. They're calculated economic extortion operations. Criminal cartels have profit models, customer service portals, and even HR departments. No kidding. Number five, cybersecurity is about leadership, not technology. Every breach is a leadership failure because it's a technical one. If the CEO doesn't treat cybersecurity as a core business function, it's only a matter of time that a breach will happen. Number six, a policy without practice is shelfware. You can't print security, you have to live it. So when we talk about having an incident response plan, it's not just about having a well-written policy. It's about procedures, how to act, what to actually do if an incident occurs. And this goes for all of your documentation in terms of information security. Okay, so after the Colonial attack, the Biden administration moved quickly. The White House issued an executive order mandating tighter cybersecurity standards for critical infrastructure operators. Okay, great. Sounds good on paper, but guess what? The implementation remains slow. Why? Because regulation without execution doesn't stop ransomware. Meanwhile, adversaries took notes. Russia, China, North Korea, they watched how a single ransomware strain, not a missile, not a bomb, could spark panic across the most powerful nation on Earth. They learned something America still struggles to admit. You don't need to invade a country to cripple it. You just need to disrupt its trust. You know, we love to talk about innovation, AI, smart cities, autonomous everything. But beneath all that tech glitter is a brittle skeleton of outdated systems and complacent leadership. Colonial Pipeline wasn't an anomaly, it was a preview. And unless the lessons are internalized, it will happen again, to banks, to utilities, to healthcare, to defense contractors. In an era where ransomware groups are evolving faster than regulation and cyber criminals can buy exploits online for less than a cup of coffee, our national resilience is only as strong as our corporate diligence. Colonial Pipeline's shutdown was a brutal reminder that the real war for national security is being fought in data centers, control rooms, and forgotten servers, not physical battlefields. One stolen password, one miscontrol, one policy ignored. That's all it takes, and that's all it took with Colonial Pipeline. Want to up your cybersecurity game? I work with organizations all across the globe, from defense contractors to financial institutions to tech startups, helping them build programs that actually work, not just pass audits. With over 2,000 successful security and compliance engagements across today's most demanding frameworks, I've seen what separates the resilient from the reckless. The resilient, they invest before the breach. The reckless, they react after it. So if you're ready to move beyond fear, beyond checkbox compliance, and into real resilience, visit charlesdenyer.com and schedule your complimentary strategy session. Because the next attack won't just make the headlines, it could define your legacy at your company. In our next episode, Chernobyl, the nuclear explosion that changed energy forever. Thanks for listening. I'm your host, Charles Denyer, and this is Threat Level Red.
Threat Level Red is a Charles Denyer Productions podcast. For more information, visit charlesdenyer.com to learn more about current and upcoming podcasts and episodes, current and future book publications, professional services offered by Charles, and much more. All opinions expressed are those of the host and do not reflect the official positions of any government agency, military branch, or national security organization.